All right, I'm finally back. There's like this app, but it had expired, and I had to renew it. I really apologize. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's no problem.
Yeah, so let me just ask you, now that I'm recording, that I have permission to record?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Yeah, so of course you're right about the timeline. I found the article, but yes, it was from July.
Yes.
The article that I read.
Okay, so first week of July or so?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And of course, he stated that Mexico was sending all of their rapists, their thieves, stuff. I don't know exactly the quote, and and the quote has to be exact because I don't want.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to. I can go back and talk.
Yes.
You don't have to find the quote. It's been repeated a million times.
Right, and then soon after that, I learned that he was going to Laredo.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Laredo. I was born on the border. And I'm a mechanical engineer. Went to A&M, Texas A&M. But I'm a professional, but I also get deeply involved in our civic obligation. And when he said that, it hit at the heart of our dignity as a people. It could have been against any other race.
Absolutely.
He was talking about Mexicans, and I would have done the same thing had it been about any other race. I would have had the same reaction. And so I had 30 hours to organize, and we brought people from all over the state of Texas, and we were there. And he is a master of the media. He manipulates the media so well that at the end of the event, after he went down there, he said that we were there in support of him. That the people that had those flags, because at the same time, same week, he had attacked Senator McCain, I served 17 years. I was a captain in the Army, and so many of the veterans got together with LULAC and the movement that was there, Cesar Chavez Legacy and Educational Foundation, and so they were there with flags and all in protest, not for him, but in his interview he said, "Well, didn't you see all those red, white, and blue flags? They're here to cheer me on." And unfortunately, when I said, well, we had the cameras 2 hours before he arrived, and we had many cameras. Reporters from all over the world were there, and so we had the opportunity to tell our story, but it never went out in the United States. It went out to the rest of the country. It was broadcasted in all of the Spanish-speaking Central America, South America, and it was broadcast in England and in Europe. But in the United States, only Trump's version of the event came out, and that really hit me. I said, "Oh man, we have major problems," because and why is that? Well, he has a lot of money, one. And the media, as independent as you may want it to be, there's a level of censorship, and a manipulation. If they know that there's going to be media buys, major media buys, millions of dollars, even though he may not be doing them, but they know that it's coming. They don't want to be that much in the bad with Mr. Trump. If they can be friendly and still report report the facts as well as they can, that's one thing. But it happened that in my case, the protest was did not come out at all. He gets to Laredo, and he was going to meet with two people beforehand, and that was actually three people: the mayor, the county judge, and the city manager. The city manager, they're all three of them are my friends. But that evening, because I left at 3 a.m. to get there in time for the protest.
Wait, where were you coming from?
From Houston.
Ah, I see. So you live in Houston, not Laredo.
Yeah. So then, if the night before, I called all three of them, and two of them said, "Well, we have to give him the courtesy because he's a candidate." And I asked the question, "Are you going to do the same thing with all candidates?" And they said yes.
Right.
But still, it's not right there's such a thing called the Hatch Act. No government employees cannot participate in any political activities.
Yeah.
And that act was written specifically to prevent that from happening. You can do it outside, but not during.
Right.
Well, what does Mr. Trump do? He takes his entourage of buses, and they go and they shut down the Columbia Bridge, where there's thousands of 18-wheelers and people going back and forth. Mexico is the biggest port, inland port in the United States.
Right.
But the amount of traffic that goes through that bridge is very great. And they shut down the bridge for 2 hours while he's in there giving a speech.
Right.
And I'm trying to get a hold of my fans and informing them that that's not right. You cannot do that. You can, as city officials, drive them around, take them to places, but you can't go into a government building. That's a federal government building.
Right.
So he got away with it. And though I raised the issue then, it was never raised in the media. He's a master of media control. Now, just to be clear as to what my political positions are, I'm a Democrat, but I vote for Republicans when the Republican is a better candidate than our Democratic candidate.
Right.
And so, if indeed, most of my there's a lot of values, core values, that are commonly held by both Democrats and Republicans. Though sometimes the Republicans sometimes claim that they're the only ones that have those values, and that's not our situation. There's a series of books called the Language of Conscience, and it's www.thelanguageofconscience.com. The author is Mr. Timon Skipper Dipple, and if you want to know what my political positions and my value positions are, his books absolutely represent exactly who I am and how I think, and my thought process and my sense of criteria. So it's not that I was there as a Democrat trying to get a Democrat elected and going against a Republican. That is absolutely not the situation. I was there because in defense of the attack on the dignity of the Hispanic community. And that is why it was picked up all over Central America and South America, because that's what I said. I said, when one is attacked, we're all attacked.
Yeah.
And so I thought for sure that he was going to make a retraction of some sort and an apology, but he didn't. He played on it, and now he's building the wall higher and higher every time anybody says something. At least he says it just went from 50 to 60 feet.
Right.
We are, most people along the border, the Mexican border, most people along the Mexican border, most of the Hispanic community, we don't want the fence. The fence divides us. My wife was born across the river in the Mexican side. My family has been in the United States since 1500. Before Texas was Texas, before U.S. was U.S. What I see as sometimes a misdirection of why we do the things that we do, it gets converted from something that is good into something that is bad. And that was the only reason we were there. I've been in LULAC since May of 1974. And LULAC is the oldest Hispanic organization in the United States since 1929. Having said that, we were really disappointed at the overall failure of getting our voice heard. And everyone was there. There was Dana Bash was there, CNN. And,
I mean, I agree with you. I personally think that there were many failures, in the coverage. I couldn't agree more.
So as soon as he got there, it was all Donald Trump. And even to this day, you turn it on, and the Laredo activity comes up with Chuy Olivares, who's the city manager, in the background, and the mayor. He's still the mayor. The county judge that night when I called, he said he was going to go, and then the next day when I called to complain about the fact that they were using a federal building, a federal bridge, in violation of the Hatch Act, he says, Isidro, I thought about what you said last night. I didn't go. I'm not with him.
Interesting.
He decided not to even be a part of it. His name is Judge Tano Tijerina. I was so proud of him that he had taken that position. And I was telling the rest of the media, I said, we're out here, but we have people inside that are going to talk about our issues. We have real serious issues on what he said.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, in general, what do you think has happened with the Texas Mexican American community, the Tejano community, during this election with the messaging of Donald Trump? I mean, have you seen a big uptick in political participation or interest in the election? I mean, what's happening?
Yes. Well, I can tell you what my expectations are based on what I see happening, but you never know until the day of the election or the early voting starts. There's an awful lot of enthusiasm of going out to vote and to stop him because that never got corrected. And in Spanish, there's a saying, tirar la piedra y esconder la mano. You throw the rock and then you hide your hand after you've broken the window. The window has been broken. And it can't be undone.
Right.
And let's assume that there was an effort to try to correct it. That's not what is happening. He doubles down on it and continues to double down. And there's a sector of our population, unfortunately, and I am very disappointed. I knew it was there, but I didn't know how strong. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump is saying what these guys have always wanted to say, but wouldn't.
Right.
And now the issue of the biases, cultural biases, is out in the open. He's brought it out, and even some of my dear friends, they say, at least he brings out those issues. But then I close by saying Hitler brought up some issues.
Yeah. Yep.
That doesn't make him right. But the rest of the country went with him. There was such inertia, such momentum, and that's the same thing that I see with Donald Trump. The inertia, the momentum is insurmountable, seemingly insurmountable, and it keeps growing. And if the elections are what the polls are saying they are right now, that they're even, he still has 7 months in which to grow that.
Right.
It would seem that every time he says something, he's gonna go down. But you and I have seen it. It doesn't happen. He's insulted everybody and their mothers, everyone, and his polls go up. So I am hoping that what happens will. I've never liked the term sleeping giant because we're not. We've always been out there, but we haven't been out there in the numbers. In Texas, if you don't know this, we are the biggest ethnic group in Texas. We've overcome we surpassed the Anglo population. We're 11,500,000 Hispanics happened in 2014, and there's 11,300,000 Anglo. And so the potential of the Hispanic vote is there if it comes out. It may be that this is because of what has happened, and what Trump is going to continue doing. It may be that for once we do come out and vote, and when we do, we will make a difference. And we're absolutely don't say that we're the majority. We're not the majority. We're maybe 18-20% in the country, but we could be the difference if we vote relatively as a bloc. And how do you do that? You need good leadership, and then you need a purpose. The purpose Donald Trump has given us. Now we need good leadership to make sure that we organize. One of the greatest leaders that we had in our Hispanic community was Cesar Chavez, and his message that he left was organize, organize.
Let me ask you this.
There is hope.
I mean, one of the things, I have studied the changing American demographics for years, and I wrote a book, it's been like 15 years ago, called The Color of Our Future, about the demographic changes in the United States and how we were becoming a country that will have eventually no racial or ethnic majority. That's still 30 years away. But there's also a lag time. So like in Texas, Latinos are more than Anglos, but the political power of Anglos is still greater for many reasons. There are more people of voting age, there are more citizens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously, just because the numbers change, there's a difference between absolute numbers and political power. One of the things that's happened in this election is a push to naturalize people who are not U.S. citizens who have the ability to become U.S. citizens quickly, but that's a relatively small number. How do you think that's going to affect the math in Texas and the United States, if at all?
The math in Texas really, we don't need to add. We just need to come out. There's enough registered, or let me put it this way: there's enough eligible voters without anything else other than to register, and all it takes is filling out the 3x5 card. And you fill that out, and you're eligible. So there's a tremendous potential, and we've had movements dating back to in the mid-'70s. Now it's part of the first one. It was called Southwest Voters Registration and Education Project. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I've heard about it.
That's Willie Velasquez out of San Antonio. I worked directly with him when he's passed away.
Right.
But I worked with him from the very first one. If something like that were to happen again, we would absolutely have a major impact. And it can happen. Again, like I said, there's two things are required. A purpose, something that gives people the reason why they want to go out. And then they say, okay, now what do I have to do to vote? And then there's where leadership comes and organization. Here it is. We're going to be right, make it so easy for them to register and go and vote. And then we might have a greater impact. Hopefully, it happens this year. And hopefully, we're a difference. And I would hate to think how America will be with the mentality that he has given, that he has portrayed, and that he stands for. And now even some of my conservative friends that I thought would never think that way, they're saying, well, he does bring up some issues, and that's going to bring up.
Yeah, right. I mean, what about Latino conservatives? I mean, I myself am Black American, and in my family we have both Republicans and Democrats, and a long history of people who are in the military, and not all of the Republicans are from the military background, but that's a lot of the Republicans in my family. And I don't know whether any of them are going to vote for Donald Trump or not. I will probably find out at the barbecue over Memorial Day weekend. But what do you think about? I mean, because I think that one of the things that happens when people talk about race and ethnicity and politics is that there's strong traditional social values in both the Latino community and the Black community, but that's not the only reason people vote. There are many different reasons, economic, there's issues of race that come up. And so do you think that there will be, despite Trump's, very incendiary rhetoric, a cohort of Latino Republicans or Latino independents who vote for him?
Let me tell you about my immediate family. My son, Fernando, is a Republican, and I respect him, and there's reasons why he thinks that way. And he's an economist. He worked for the railroad. And this year, even in the primaries, first time he's voted Democrat. He was so disenfranchised when we sit down and we turn on the TV, and he lives about 500 miles from where I'm at. No, 400. And every now and then we go down there, and he has his kids, a 4-year-older and a 7-year-older and a 9-year-older. And they're all in tune. They know the names. They know the candidates. Yeah. They listen to the debates. And one time that I was there, my grandkid, his name is Justice, and he was named Justice for a reason. Yeah. His name is Justice Emmanuel. He says, Grandpa, Trump says that he's gonna get all the Mexicans and send them back to Mexico. Are we gonna get sent back? He said, he's a 7-year-older. Yeah. I said, no. Is that what you heard? He said, yeah. Well, listen some more, okay? Because that's not what he's saying. And then he says, no, that's what I heard. I said, well, then he says, well, if you were born here in the United States, a comment was made, then you don't have to worry about it. He says, good. I won't have to and go back to Mexico. I said, no. You've been here. Your family has been here since the 1500s. He says, good. How about you, Grandpa? Yeah, My family's been here since the 1500s. Oh, good. He was so delighted. Then he says, how about Grandma? I said, Grandma was born in Mexico.
Right. Yeah.
So he goes over there and says, no, Grandma, they're going to send you back to Mexico. Why
terrible.
The story? Why the story? Yes, it's one of fear. He plays on fear. And somebody gets gratitude. The far right, there's some people that don't like Hispanics.
Yeah.
And just like some people didn't like Jews at one point in time.
Yeah.
And so here is my grandkid's response, and he says, we can't allow Donald Trump to win.
Mm-hmm.
What can he do?
Yeah.
He can't vote. But
right.
he's talking about it, and he talks about it. He says, one kid that is in his school, he is a son of undocumented parents.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, he was saying, well, I am going to get deported.
Wow.
And then justice says, no, you're not. We're not going to allow that. We'll fight for you. He said, let's have a little conversation going back and forth. I said, that's for the right reason. It has nothing to do with, color or skin, race. It's just the right thing to do as human beings.
Right.
We want to be friends with each other. We want to build bridges, not build walls.
Yeah.
If there's walls, let's tear them down.
Yeah.
Let's edify. Let's not divide.
Right. Well, I was just called into a meeting from my boss.
Okay.
So you're someone who definitely I want to speak with more, and so what I'm going to do is probably not until tomorrow. I will send you right now. I'm going to send you a link to my articles for 538, and also a link to my personal website that talks about the books I write and things like that, just so you can see who I am. But I love speaking with you, and I think it's it's really fantastic. And then I want to follow up with you by phone, and then if you have thoughts, I'll send you a longer email on what I'm looking for in terms of finding someone in Laredo, because I am just really interested in this whole, also in addition to the issue of Trump, the issue of how Cuban Americans are treated by immigration and naturalization versus Mexican Americans and pretty much everyone else. Because that's a really interesting, touchy topic, and I think that it's time for a change in that policy, but I'm not sure. Not sure it's coming because it's a political hot potato. So there's so much.
Well, there's some videos that from TV stations on some of my interviews in that area where we've been able to unite families right there in Laredo.
Yeah. Well, great. I mean, this has been really fascinating. I might be able to get out to the area on a trip. I might have to do the interviews by phone. I'm not sure yet. But I really appreciate talking to you. It definitely, your family sounds like it has not only a great history, but all the way down to your 7-year-old grandson, a lot of intellectual capital and a lot of thoughtful discussion.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, can you give me your a number popped up on my screen, but I want to make sure I have the best number for you.
832-446-8647.
Okay.
And my email address is BACISIDRO@AOL.com.
Okay. So I'm going to send you just a couple of work now. And then I'd like to follow up with you more. We're trying to decide exactly when we do what parts of this story. So it may not be right away. I mean, I will follow up with you, but I'm not sure when we're going to do the next round of interviews. But I really appreciate your time, and it sounds like you definitely have had a very long involvement in politics.
Very good. Thank you, and thank you for your efforts. And I like it.
Yeah.
I like the name of your group. I really do.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. You take care. You have a good evening.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.